tons of people outside today. Must be because of the weather. And with that in mind, what was going on today? I guess this one was going around everywhere on WeChat and stuff. Apparently there's a lot of pictures of the DJI Avata. It's supposed to be the FPV drone. And I guess you can see all these pictures. It looks kind of what you've expected from before with all the leaks and all that. I guess this is technically a quote leak as well, correct? When I first heard of this, I thought this would be their micro drone for FPV flyers. But from looking at the pictures and all that, and with recent information, it doesn't seem like this is going to be a micro drone at all. And as well with these pictures, there was also pictures of the goggles itself, which you've seen with those FCC filings. But here's an actual picture of the hardware. In general, it looks smaller, I guess, in some ways than the other DJI goggles. As well, it looks like there's people actually trying to do promotions for this drone. So I would imagine it means it's coming soon in terms of an announcement and all that. It makes me wonder, is there a huge market for these types of drones? Because I would imagine for a lot of people who fly FPV, they like to make their own per se. So I'll be wondering how well this does. I know for a lot of people, they buy the goggles for DJI, and then afterwards, again, they just make their own drone. And this was kind of interesting where it seemed like a politician got convicted for a drone attack. I was like, what's this about? This one says, Venezuela politician sentenced over drone attack on Maduro. People usually say, for example, politicians are the ones that come up with those crazy over-the-top drone regulations that make no sense. So what's going on here, huh? It says, he was arrested 3 days after a drone carrying explosives blew up at a military parade attended by President Nicolas Maduro on 4th of August 2018. Mr. Maduro was not hurt in the attack. Juan Resquesens has denied any involvement in the incident, and his family say he was targeted because he is an outspoken critic of the Maduro government. A former student leader, he became well known for organizing anti-government protests in 2014. He was elected to the National Assembly, where he made a name for himself with passionate speeches in which he said he would not give up fighting until Mr. Maduro was removed from the presidency. His lawyer, Joe Garcia, has said he's been found guilty of conspiracy without giving more details. Venezuela's prosecutor's office has not yet commented. So that's kind of the confusing thing. Was there actually any proof that he was the one that did it or was involved? He says Mr. Maduro himself was quick to blame Mr. Resquesens and another opposition lawmaker, Julio Borges, for the attack. Mr. Borges was living in exile, dismissed the accusations as a farce, but Mr. Resquesens was detained by secret police. President Maduro said Mr. Resquesens was one of the craziest plotters against his life, and charges ranging from conspiracy to treason were leveled against him. Rights activists have denounced his arrest from the start, arguing he is a political prisoner. And it's kind of crazy in general, I guess, getting attacked by a drone bomb per se, and then just blaming, I guess, whoever's your harshest critic. According to this anyways, it doesn't sound like there's any actual proof. That's kind of crazy. And in terms of proof, this was actually really interesting to think about. Apparently there was a scientist that posted on, I guess, the internet. Here, you can see pictures which he says is from that James Webb telescope, the one that showed all those amazing pictures of space. And what would you think when you see this picture at first? I guess a lot of people were like, wow, they can't believe like so much details and all that. But apparently this was a prank and it's generating, I guess, some controversy. It's interesting to think about. This one says, French physicist fools the internet for claiming that a chorizo picture is a star captured by NASA's James Webb. Is it a star, is it a chorizo, or is it an astronomy prank gone wrong? After posting a picture that he claimed to be brand new image from NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, but was simply a cross-section of a chorizo, a well-known French physicist had to make a public apology on Twitter. The image was shared on Twitter on July 31st by Etienne Klein, a research director at the French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission. He tweeted that the chorizo was Proxima Centauri, a tiny low-mass star located almost near the sun. After causing confusion and debate for Twitter users, Klein eventually apologized for the joke and explained that his goal was not to surprise anyone, but to remind others always to exercise skepticism and not believe what they initially saw. So as he expressed here, according to this, it's basically a way to kind of, I guess, prank other scientists. And because he's, I guess, well known per se, a lot of people are saying it's inappropriate, where a lot of people go to this person relying on actual scientific facts. So it's not responsible for him to post that, whereas some others would argue no, it's fine. For example, it says here, one user argued, coming from a scientific research director, it's quite inappropriate to share this type of thing without specifying from the first tweet that it is false information when you know the speed at which a false information. And another person defends it, and it gets all political, it seems like. It says here for this user, yet our politicians are doing exactly the same thing, except that it negatively affects the lives of 67 million people. But hey, it's better to be offended by a schoolboy joke than to react to blagganettes of the government, isn't it? The user argued. So what would you think overall? Would you think it's appropriate or inappropriate? I guess ultimately it is true, and you need to look at things with an open mind at the same time with some skepticism. If you can potentially challenge some kind of, I guess, scientific belief or fact, then dump it out there. Don't just automatically, I guess, say, oh, 100% it has to be this or that, because things always change, huh? That's how it's always been in history, I guess. Some people thought it was crazy for, I don't know, certain things to exist. It actually ended up being true. No one would have imagined things like, well, I guess electricity and so forth. Yeah, look at nowadays, correct? So I guess ultimately to me it's just a joke per se, but I can see how people will be sensitive about it. All right, see you guys later.